Almost like life coaching and helping people see balance. I've seen for myself how important it was, and I needed it. And I think, man, even transcending CrossFit, everyone needs to understand how when you say yes to something, what you're saying no to.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Full Send Podcast. Today we have a really special guest, a good friend of ours. We have Nathan Bramblett on the show. He's a former CrossFit Games athlete in 2015. How many times did you go to regionals there, Nate?
5 times.
5-time regional
14
athlete.
through 18.
So serious CrossFit athlete
When
here.
were you there? When did we go
Never.
to Huh?
Never.
You went to regionals?
No, when I was trying to get to regionals, you were like doing what I wanted to do when I started CrossFit.
Oh, I thought you were there with me. Okay.
No, so my best finish was like 70th
In the open. Okay.
in the region, yeah.
Gotcha.
So
Well, yeah, Nathan, for the people who don't know you, obviously we know you pretty well
Yeah.
at this standpoint. Who are you? What do you do? What are you about, man?
It's funny to still be introduced as a CrossFit Games athlete. It's just so
It's only been 6 years.
so long ago.
It's not that long ago.
For me, it feels like ages. So
Yeah.
I stopped competing in 2018. I qualified twice. So I qualified in 15 and 17. Didn't get to go that year in 17, though. So you asked me, what am I about? I'm about family. I am about friends and community. People who know me know that I love Jesus. He's a big part of my life.
Yeah.
Changed my life 3.5 years ago. And I love the sport of CrossFit. I love everything about it. I love so many of my closest friends still today that I'll be friends with for the rest of my life. I met in a gym, a place that seems so simple. It seems so whatever. Maybe even some could say like surface level, like you just talk about surface level things here, but the relationships formed in a gym are incredible. And so I'm majorly about fitness and community, and yeah.
same.
Yeah,
Love
awesome.
that.
You speak so well. It's your cadence when you talk is so calming. I absolutely love it. So if you need something in the future, man, you should just go into radio, do something like that. Public speaking. Awesome, Nate. So you said that you retired in 2018. So what have you been doing since 2018?
Since 2018, I touched on it in the last podcast I did, but I had a family intervention end of 2017, and my whole life changed. And basically the next day, that was the slow road of me stopping kind of training. So for the last 3 months, I've had just a major transition where I've been walking with kind of a ministry and a team and had some business on the side. So the last 3 years out of CrossFit, I've mostly been just walking with community and building up a community and serving. And I have little kids, so the last 3 years I've spent a lot of time with family, in my home and with my family.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. What are you working on now?
What am I working on right now? Are you teeing me up for burger question?
Well, we were just talking about fitness before this,
Okay.
right? I know that you're doing a little bit of programming. Let's
Yep.
talk about it all, man, and we'll
Okay,
dive
let's
into
do it.
rabbit holes wherever we want to go.
Okay. Well, programming is maybe one of the things I'm most excited about in CrossFit. And actually, as I've started to explore this thing more, I'm less about programming than I am about coaching, because I have seen, so my history from 2000, almost every CrossFit Games athlete in some way tries to monetize their name. I don't think it's selfish. It's just there's a market for it. People want your information. Right. So 2015, everyone wanted to know, how did I get to where I am? And so in 2013, when I first saw the games, didn't have a coach. I have never had a coach except for a small period, and it didn't work out. It was okay. It just didn't work. And so from 2013 to 15, I got to the games by myself, basically being my own rat in a lab, experimenting on myself and all my training buddies.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah.
When you were really,
Sure.
doing multiple trainings per day, how did you program for yourself?
Yeah. Well, it started in 2013. I was watching Ben and Rich and all those guys on the games, right? And so I'm sitting there doing bicep curls, and I look at my buddy Bobby Wheeler, who is a coach, head coach over at PR Star. Best friends in life.
He's a good dude.
Yep. And we look at each other and we're like, bro, we should try this in CrossFit. And we were just like, all right, let's try it. So we have YouTube, and we just start, YouTubing everything. And that's at the time where Rich is at TTU, Tennessee Tech University, and
Yeah, I
he's
remember
working out
that.
with Elijah
With Dan
Muhammad
Bailey.
and all those guys, and they're Dan Bailey, yeah. And so we're like, these guys are studs, and we just start doing all the workouts online, and from there, you know, I still remember the day we looked at each other and we were like, dude, if we're ever gonna have to get good at this, we're gonna have to train twice a day. And we both like look at each other like blown out of the water, like, can your body even do that? But
That's so true. I remember the bodybuilding days when it was like, you know, one day you live, you go Wednesday night, Saturday morning, 48 hours of rest, and that was like grinded into you. Right?
well, that is
Recovery was,
exactly
like, the key,
here. I know you
right?
got some, but that was exactly what the school of thought I came from, which is you have to basically train. You know, if you're trying to make advances in back and buys or chest and tries or whatever, you shouldn't overload it more than like 3 times a week, because you need the 2 or 3 days to rest. That's exactly the camp I came from with bodybuilding. And so it was so interesting to like see this new school of thought with CrossFit, that somehow you could train every day and even multiple times a day. And so what were we gonna say?
No, I mean, I
jump in?
totally agree. And like, I feel like it's, you know, people are still trying to push the boundaries of what, you know, you think your body can handle. Like, I'm doing this push-up thing.
How's that
and it's
going?
dude, it's tough.
For I think most audience members know, but Monroe's been doing 10 push-ups a day and adding 10 push-ups a day every day in May. So today's May 20th. So you have 200 push-ups today, yeah?
Yeah, I did 190 last night.
That boy.
So, like,
How's your chest feel?
my chest feels great.
Is your wife?
man.
I have
over
no
there?
problem. Yeah, she does great. I mean, she's doing it with me. So, yeah, no, I mean, it's, you know, I think that CrossFit has kind of led me down that road of like, hey, what can my body handle? You know, and I think that's one thing that's really cool about what we do is you get to figure out what your body can handle.
Yeah.
So you said you like volume.
Yeah.
And you started to add that in.
Yeah.
And then you came to a conclusion that volume isn't the answer, or
I did.
What do you? I
Years
guess,
down the line, I did.
Okay, so like, what is your thought process now? Like, do you think that there is a minimum amount of work that you need to do, and if you, like, is there playing catch up? Because I see like guys do that, like Pat and stuff, like where you see where people are at the games,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, well, here's where I'm at. If I want to do this in the next couple of years, I need to do double the amount of work.
Yeah.
What's your thought process on that? I guess then and now.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like you felt like you needed to catch up.
Yeah.
Right? And you were like, man, I got to do 2 workouts a day to do that.
Yeah. Well, I guess let me just talk for myself. Let me think about how to even answer that. For myself, I had to look at, I think every athlete needs to be the steward of their own body and life. And what I mean by that is too many CrossFitters pay a programmer that they don't know and just trust everything they say. That most of the time those people are shooting at a whiteboard week at a time. They have no one has a year plan of what they're putting athletes through. Not even, I shouldn't say this, but I don't think even some of the major programs plan that far out. And I'm not taking shots. They have great programs, but like people are trusting programs. They're trusting nutritionists. They're trusting all these people, and they're like paying all this money, paying my coach at my local affiliate. And basically they sit there and they have all these subject matter experts in their life, but they never actually begin to glean the information from those people. They're always just trusting other people, which is not bad. But I always say that as an athlete, if I was not personally looking at my own body and taking account for different things, I couldn't trust that someone else would understand where I was at if I was feeling something. So athletes that are going perpetual exhaustion and overtraining, how does your coach know? Your coach isn't going to know better than you're going to know if you're overtrained and if you need more recovery. And the whole system is set up for people to overtrain. The day they get into it, they see it, they run after this train that they're behind, and they overtrain. And what I used to do with my athletes is I would make them rest every 7th week, a whole week, every 7th week. And they hated it because they thought they needed to keep training. But I believe that was the key to their success and my success. And if more athletes would take deload weeks more regularly, they would be way more successful. So I just think it's the athlete's job to get good coaches and program and all that stuff, but then to really kind of like watch their own body, look at patterns, look at rhythms, how's their sleep. And in that way, it takes more of an ownership, and people want to just pay someone because they don't understand it. But if they would do a little more work and kind of track things, they would, I think, be able to see things that you can't pay someone to tell you.
Dude, I totally agree. And like, I think that, you know, what you're saying, it's all about application. You know, like I was having this conversation with Pat this morning. We were saying his knees are all banged up, right? And one thing I keep going back to now is like, none of this stuff should hurt.
Yeah.
And like, if it hurts to do a push press, there's something not right.
Yeah.
And if you're just like, it's just my shoulder, I've just been training hard, like, you're just going to continue to perpetuate the problem and not fix it. And like, that's where I've run into, where now I'm like having to fix weird issues that I didn't have. And, now I'm feeling, when I'm fixing those issues, I feel even more capable, and it makes me more inspired to continue to do more stuff with CrossFit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so question for you.
And before you're mobility is so underplayed in today's day. Like, Pat, myself, we just want to work so hard.
Yep.
But, I was just with Chelsea Hughes last weekend. Amazing lady. You guys know who she is, right? She's been to the games in 2017.
No.
She's still close to and can qualify this year as an individual, but she qualified first year as a master. She's 35.
That's awesome.
She's an amazing athlete. She just whooped my butt last week. And but she gets up in the morning and she stretches for like 45 minutes before she even does a session. And that's why you can see her as 35 continue to do this. Whereas young kids get into it 4 years and then they're just destroyed because mobility seems like this tag on. But I really think if ROMWAD were not like an 18-minute thing you did at the very end, maybe you did it, maybe you didn't, but people really prioritized it, I think we'd see kind of longevity.
For
Sorry,
sure.
go for
No,
it.
I totally agree.
Yeah, going back to when you and Bobby were trying to figure everything out, compete with the Riches of the Dan Baileys. What did your day look like when you guys were super into that? How many sessions did you guys do? How many pieces did you guys do?
Well, we basically went into, Rich changed the game when he worked out all day. Before that, people were doing the WOD. I mean, that's how they were working out.
Just
workout of the day.
One WOD, that was it.
That's how they were doing it. But Rich changed the whole game. So we, we're kind of getting into it at that time where he's working at his garage and the whole culture is following that. So for a year and a half of school, we basically didn't go to class. We basically did nothing. And I'm not suggesting you do this, but we, we still tested well. We weren't getting Fs. I graduated with a 3.5. So be careful, I guess.
But it wasn't the priority.
Yeah, it wasn't a priority. And we would train basically off and on all day. We'd work out. We'd eat a tub of ice cream to try and refuel. We'd work out again.
I love that.
We'd eat a big sandwich. We'd work out. Honestly, Dan Bailey said you can't get big on broccoli. I still to this day think that you have to have some stuff besides just like veggies and stuff. You got to eat some things that are high in sugar if you are training multiple times a day, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, that just the last year and a half of school just looked like us just training all day, every day. And it was just a blast. We were with the buddies. We were at school in that environment. So all the boys wanted to throw down. We all dove into it head first. But in that, I did a lot of experimenting with them. We didn't have much equipment. So if I wanted to learn how to do, a movement that we didn't have the equipment for, I needed to try and figure out what I did have and what I could do to simulate the stimulus that I would get from other equipment. So I really became kind of like a mad scientist with programming. And that's really where most of my kind of business came from. As I got to the games, people wondered, like, how did you get here in a year without any help or whatever? And that was how I started programming for athletes.
So do you think that what got you there was your programming, or do you think that it was your application of that programming to what you needed? Because everybody else that was doing the program with you didn't make it to the games.
Yeah, totally.
So like, and I see that a lot with like Matt and stuff, where it's like, oh, Matt Fraser retires, here's Matt Fraser's programming. It's like, yeah, but you could do that program every day and you're not Matt Fraser. Like, just is what it is.
Yeah. And Matt, I love him. He's not going to see this, but if he did, we're friends. Matt always says, I'm going to do today what no one is doing so I can achieve tomorrow what no one can. I just think that's
a great saying.
I think it's so silly though, because Matt is like, everyone's working hard, and you're totally right. Everyone's in their basement at 10 o'clock at night. Killing themselves. So he's not the only one sacrificing, but Matt is so special, genetically incredible, and I don't think it's the program. To answer your question, I think there's some wisdom in basic understanding of how to go through broad time and modal domains and how to do that, and for what an individual needs for their goals. If they're really good at one thing, learning how to tailor something, that is important. But there's 80 programs represented at the games. So it's not the program. I think finding a good training partner might be the most important thing. Finding a good training partner and culture is probably the most important thing. And after that, or maybe tied with that, is finding a coach, not someone that can coach you in all your movement, but I'd love to even just touch on at some point on this podcast. We don't have to, but coaching people in how to manage and balance their life so that they can.
We should definitely touch on that. We will.
Yeah. So a coach that does more than just coach you on your movement, but coach you who's gone before you, who understands the lifestyle you're going into in order to make sure you're 3 years down the line, you're not in shambles with no understanding of how to use your finances, walking away from things even as foundation as your faith, neglecting friends and family and calling it a sacrifice that you're willing to take because you have a goal, when, let's be real, most people don't reach their goals. Most people don't reach the goal they want to. So this whole CrossFit industry has gone through this in evolution where coming out the end of it now 10 years later after it exploded, everyone's tried programming, everyone's going for the goal, and the large majority of the critical mass is discouraged, frustrated, going back into their gym community saying, I just want to have fun again because they tried it and they're burnt out and they regret all the sacrifices they made. So I believe coaching, I'm passionate about it, to help people who are amazing people not destroy their life over trying to reach something over the next 4 years.
I think that happened to me. I mean,
After
2017,
well, I was anywhere close to
dude, it happens to everyone. Yeah. It's like incredible, like how many people it happens to. So that's kind of what I'm passionate about.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. After 2017, I kind of I guess didn't really. I mean, I owned a gym, so it's like it just kind of going through the motions of it. But it wasn't until 2019, 2020 where I started to really feel like I was falling in love with CrossFit again, and just the throwing down with your friends and just having a good time with it, and not because you set this why am I doing this in the back of your head, and it's like, oh, the games, got to make it to the next level, and then you kind of sit down and you're like, but there's a whole wide world out there of other stuff, and CrossFit is still amazing. And if you just put CrossFit in the same bundle as this really lofty goal, and then you don't achieve the goal, it can make you not like the training methodology.
Totally.
Yeah.
What happened with you, Monroe, after 2017? How'd you feel?
So the 2017 was the year when they took it from the top 52 in the region to the top 20, and they made super regionals. Yeah. And that was
Crazy.
The closest that I had gotten was 70 something.
Right.
And so I had my eye on got to make it to the top 50.
Yeah.
And
you've been
I got
working on that
so
goal
close.
for years.
Yeah, and I would put everything into it. I put all my time into it. I put all my energy into it. And then I came so short, and I couldn't in my head justify the amount of work that it would take for me to go from 70th to the top 20 now.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. If it had stayed the top 50, I think I probably would have tried to gun for it another year. But kind of what you were saying with the programming and with the application of it and everything, and this is something that I ask people when they say, hey, I want to go to the games or whatever, is why?
Yeah. And
I think that, I always knew that you had faith and you were doing that because I remember seeing you talk about it at regionals. You were doing, all of that stuff then. So, and a lot of people that I talk to, they don't have that why behind them.
Sure.
So how much of you do you think is what's in your heart?
Yeah.
And additionally, the nuts and bolts of it is the training and the coaching and making sure your life aligns and all that. But you could check all those boxes, and if your heart isn't in it, yours was, you think you won't make it, right?
You mean when your heart, meaning how dependent is your success on your internal drive and conviction
Correct.
to reach the goal?
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, that's for sure. If you're lacking the ability to be self-motivated, you're never going to make any accomplishment or achievement. I think in anything, CrossFit's one of those. You won't make accomplishment in business. You won't make accomplishment in anything. If you need a good training environment and crew every day to push you, you're in trouble. You need to be the one that can, if you don't have that, be in here and work hard because you're driven by it. So yeah, I think your heart is 100% important in all that. Yeah. Yeah.
Man, let's touch on maybe day in the life of you, Nate, and kind of how that adjusted. I mean, you were going to class, you were working out multiple times a day. Did you feel like your days were chaotic back then, or did you manage your day pretty well back when you were training pretty heavily and also going to school as well?
No, I didn't manage my day well.
And then how did that change over time?
And the thing is, I had no idea how to even think about managing my day. I didn't know, I had no grid for decision making, and nor does any CrossFit athlete almost ever. Especially in this day, this is such a crazy day to live that people are so non-committal. If you ask someone in their 20s, what are you doing next week? They can't tell you. If you ask them, what are you doing tonight? They may still have a hesitancy and a fear of telling you because they don't know what plan's going to come up, so they can't agree to anything.
That's so true.
Or they may say yes to something today, but they'll bail on you in 6 hours because something else came up in the evening. So you can't even trust people's words. And I've been in that same boat. My wife's told me, like, Nate, you need to have, she's made it an integrity thing. And you're right. I can't be someone that ever lets things change the day of, because it's lacking integrity. And so today's culture, with as crazy it is with media, and I think just racing souls, nobody's like at rest in their soul today. And so I had no idea when I was training, how to think about if I'm doing enough. So the number one thing for myself and every athlete I ever trained was the number one stress in their life and in their training was stress due to lack of management in other areas of their life. And the number one inhibitor for their recovery when they weren't training was stress due to lack of vision and management in their life. So every single CrossFit athlete goes to bed wondering, did I do enough? And if they're not saying that, they're either one of the incredible outliers who knows how to manage their life, or they're lying to you, because every CrossFit athlete with aspirations goes to bed restless, wondering, did I do enough training? And there is definitely chaos in your life when you're making sacrifice in perpetually towards a goal without any frame. Whenever you say yes to something, you're saying no to something. And if you don't know what you're saying, how to make those decisions, you have restlessness. So people are chasing their goals, and I was chasing my goals, and I would say, sure, I had an ordered life, I was making some money or whatever, but I was trying to chase this goal, so every opportunity I was sacrificing things to train more. Every opportunity I was eating a certain way, I was going to sleep early and whatever, and I didn't know it, but my wife wasn't happy with me, my kids were, I would say I was making some money, I was doing right, but I was sacrificing career opportunities. The tagline is, or whatever, I just want to become a better version of myself. I want to be a better version of myself. CrossFit athletes say it all the time. 2 years down the line, what I tell athletes is if you just pour all your time into fitness and you neglect other areas of your life, you're going to end up a worse version of yourself because you'll get better at fitness. But I measure life in 5 ways with all my athletes now: fitness, family, friends, finances, and faith. And I have all my athletes create goals in each one of those segments, so that if they don't reach their fitness goals 2 years from now, they're walking towards what I call a holistic way of training in their life. They're being disciplined in other areas. So then, I'll move past this, but if one of my goals in my family category is to be a good father, a goal, the action statement I have an athlete make is, okay, that's your goal. What's your action statement? Sit at the dinner table 5 nights a week. Okay, put it in my calendar. Okay, now my coach can walk with me, and if I am hitting and I'm walking in step with my calendar mostly, I know that I'm reaching my goals. I know that I'm working towards goals in every area of my life, and I have a vision for how to think about my life. So then I can go to sleep at night knowing I did all my training based on the goals I made for my training, based on the action statements, based on my calendar. If I'm walking that out, I can go to sleep knowing I did what I can do. And if somehow I want to do more training, I have to look at my schedule and my calendar and say, is there a way to add more training in? And if the only way to put more training in another segment is to take out dinner twice a week with my family, then I get to make that decision. Is it worth it or not? And no, it's not, because I have other areas of my life that I care about. So then you just know how much time you can put into training, and you know where the line is the line, and you'll have to be satisfied with what you achieve in fitness at the end of it, because you care about your whole life. So that's kind of where, for me, I saw my life was disordered, because I had no ability to look at what does more time of fitness equate to me saying no to? What is yes to fitness in this 4-hour block saying no to? And without that, it was you just go to bed with questions if you don't have vision for something.
I love that. I mean, I think that's great. My I guess question to you is, do you think it's possible to not make it to the games without ruining your life?
Yeah.
Because the time when you made it to the games was the time you were describing ruining your life
Yeah.
by taking away all these other avenues. And, you know, especially with the way that the landscape is, and we were talking about
Yeah.
like trying to play catch up and all that, like, do you think it's realistic to tell someone, hey, you're going to be okay in all these other areas of your life if you want to make it to the games? Or do you think it's better to say, like, hey, if you really want this goal, is your expectation of what's going to happen in the other areas of your life okay with you? Like, are you okay with trashing your relationships to get there?
Yeah.
And I love the coaching aspect of it, because I agree with you. The answer is no,
Yeah.
which is why I don't train like that anymore.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Like, is it possible?
Is it possible to make it there without, like, really sacrificing a lot? And, like, you had a supportive wife that was like, hey, I see what you're doing. I'm willing to, you know, lose this family time to help you achieve your goal.
Yeah.
But, like, obviously in that situation, you're not being the best father. You're not being the best husband. So, like, do you think it's possible in this day and age to do that?
Yeah. I definitely think it's possible with 2 training sessions a day. 100%. If you can schedule an hour and a half in the morning before work, and you have some hour and a half somewhere else, you know, in today's culture, people are working from home. People are able to get their work is more dependent on the product than the hours put in. So a good sales, you know, men or people in sales all over the place, or IT or whatever, they could step away for an hour and a half at lunch. They're not quite as bound by the 8 hours, you know? And so I think people absolutely can do it. But again, that was where, if I were coaching athlete, I would say, okay, this is your goal. Awesome. You know, you shoot towards the stars. I would shoot for a next stage. I want a quarterfinal or semifinal or something. And I would have them set up their life in a way where, okay, this is the most if you want to give everything to your fitness, if you want to do the most you can in fitness, what I would have them do is put their blocks in their schedule in the other areas of their life first. And then they see what they have available even for training, and then they can decide, okay, I have this much time. And if, when I do a holistic training assessment of someone's life, if they only have an hour and a half training in their day, when they put all the other blocks in, this is the only hour and a half you have of training, I have to look at them and we have to have a conversation, say, I don't think you'll be able to go to the games per se with that, but what I can do is we can see how good you can want to get. Let's do the best you can and see how far you can get, and let's reassess 6 months down the road. But helping them have a realistic expectation of what they can achieve, I think is helped by them just seeing their life as a whole. Because I want to go to the games, but, like, hold on, let's look at your life. Can you give that much time?
100%.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree. And, like, kind of my thing, what I was saying earlier about asking people their why.
Yeah.
I talked to Scott recently.
Oh yeah.
And he's been gunning for the games. He made it to the to the AGOQ. Did really well. And, like, his goal has been go to the games, right? And he's the first person that I've ever talked to that I feel like has it in their heart. Yeah. And a lot of it is what you said. Yeah. Like, he's in his late 30s, maybe he's 40s now.
I think he's 40s, bro.
Damn.
Well, yeah, he's a fit dude.
We started this gym together a long time ago, but yeah, so he's in his 40s, and, you know, he's had all this life experience. He has a full-time job that, you know, he can kind of wiggle his mouse and train during lunch. You know, he has the whole setup in his garage. You know, he's had kids, he's, you know, had a business, but like, has something to hang his hat on. And I think it's like, that's, you know, I totally agree with you.
Yeah. I know you have more questions. Last thing I want to say on that is being able to, knowing when enough is enough, because stress and the parasympathetic nervous system flooding your body with stress hormones is so counter to your body's ability to recover, that if someone is stressed, I mean, your body, like, internally is, like, destroying itself. So for someone even to just have peace of mind, almost it's like shocking how I think much less they can do in training and how much their body responds and produces athletically. So just having someone know enough is enough when they look at their life and they put in their training, because people are looking at Instagram like, okay, I want to do another workout or this, or maybe I could get this program, or okay, maybe I could go compete here. And it's always this like reaching like anxiety that if they had an ability to know enough is enough, I'm not going to take any more time from my life because this is what I need. This is how I need to grow in the other areas of my life. When they can actually say and stick to a calendar, I find that literally they have peace. And when an athlete has peace, I think that's an incredible like greenhouse for them to improve, because I think anxiety, internally is one of the most detrimental things to your body recovering and building strength.
Dude, I totally agree.
So
I have a follow-up question.
Yes.
So my follow-up question is, you said you can do it if you schedule your life, right? Let's say your life is organized, you can make it there 2 workouts a day.
Yeah.
Can you do it with 1?
2 workouts a day, two
sessions.
2 sessions.
Okay, 2 sessions a day. Can you do it with 1?
Depends on who you are. I don't know. I think people can.
Hell yes. Love that answer.
I don't think most people can, but I think so much time's wasted trying to figure out what you're going to work out. I think so much time's wasted. I mean, if someone goes in with a plan and they have 2 hours, 2 hours is a lot. I mean, you can do a strength, a skill, a Metcon, rest 30 minutes, another totally different domain Metcon, and then stretch for 30 minutes. I mean, I always have my athletes lift on a clock. I could spend 75 minutes snatching, or I could spend 25 minutes snatching, get the same volume in, and work really hard.
Yep.
And so I think 2.5 hours, people probably could do it if they
5
had
days
it
a week.
5 days, 5 to 6. On a 6th day, I would have someone go for a really long run. But I think it could be possible. Probably not everybody.
Yeah, what's the theory behind the really long run?
Really long run, I think, is a mental, and also your aerobic capacity doesn't, most of the time, just because of CrossFitters, we go into basically like the same pathways, same pathways, and a lot of like marathon testing and like long distance running, they actually run shockingly like a lot of time in like somehow like all the terms are escaping me.
So
under your heart, what is the metabolic heart?
Glycolytic is the middle one. If that's the one you're looking for. Oxidative is the aerobic capacity one, and then phosphogenic is you're doing a 1 rep max bench press or a 100-meter sprint.
Fun fact: they're actually doing a lot of studies recently. The guys from Training Think Tank are finding that they're measuring oxygen within muscle tissue, and they're finding that this whole idea that there are 3 different metabolic pathways is kind of false, and that your body uses all 3 pathways together, and that as soon as you start moving, your muscles are requiring oxygen. So there's no such thing as like the oxidative state, even though we talk about energy systems. But that's like. That's like this year, they're just like just starting that kind of stuff.
The term I'm thinking of is like your minimum heart rate for you to, what is the term? Your heart rate.
Heart rate variability?
Yeah, for when you go from anaerobic or from aerobic to anaerobic. Somewhere for like most athletes, it's like 130, 132 beats per minute. So it's like you're 30 seconds into your Metcon, whether it's 30 minutes or 3 minutes, and you're above that. Your heart rate's beating 140, 150, 155. So you've already crossed that threshold. And so most marathon runners, to actually build your aerobic capacity and base, they say they have to spend a certain amount of time below that threshold. So I think the long runs and one longer piece is to get people really running and doing stuff where they spend a considerable amount of time below that threshold, because without that base, it's kind of like taking away the bottom layer of building your base.
So you mentioned running.
Yeah.
And running is one of those things that I've never, in a competitive CrossFit situation, is not like tested until the games, really. Yeah. So why do so many games athletes and people at that level like hammer running so much? And like, why would you say that it's a good use of time, instead of saying, hey, why don't you sit for an hour and a half on the bike, or go ski for an hour and a half? Why would you say run?
Because you're saying, because those people you were talking to, they may not make it to the game, so they need to be working on other things, you're saying?
No, I'm just saying, like, if the goal is to make it to the games, running has just always seemed like, well, they're not going to test running in the open, and they're probably not going to test running in regionals.
Yeah.
So it's like, if the goal is to get to the games,
yeah,
why would I do so much running?
Totally. I just think running is, part of just like basic athleticism, and also like there's so many like CrossFit athletes in here who like can't move laterally. They're not athletic. They can't play sports.
Yep.
So I think it's just important to even have a foundation, being able to move your body well and run. And there's nothing worse than someone who's like a really good CrossFit athlete, and then they get out on like an 800 meter run, they just like look like they can't move. So
Sarah Sigmund's daughter?
Yeah.
Not
Hey, I was kind of like that in 2018. But you can't really, once you build like strength and you put on like 15 pounds of muscle and strength, doing like raw strength cycles, and like all the CrossFitters, you bulk up, you get strong doing it a lot of times. It's really hard to go back and build aerobic bases and a running base after that. So I think it kind of needs to be laid at the beginning to build upon, or else when you go from 180 to 200, you don't become a better runner. You look like a gorilla trying to like shuffle along. So I think it's just important to like keep people running, and you'll never get good at it in 3 months if you make the games or if you make your goals. And most semifinals, a lot of sanctionals and stuff, they all have them. Competitions, anything you go to, they have runs. So it's not something that people can be like, okay, I made something, I need to get better at it. I think it's really important to be kind of continually somewhat good at it. That's a thought I have. I could be wrong.
No, I like that opinion.
Yeah.
Nate, talk to me about what you're doing for programming for athletes and the program that you're putting together now.
Yeah. So I've thought a lot about it, and I used to do programming. So as I got back into it, I thought maybe I needed to do more programming. But I've actually found a bunch of people, no matter what program, still need coaching and help. So I actually am kind of like niching myself into what I'm almost like a fitness life coach. And most people don't think they need that. Most guys even think, screw that, I don't need a life coach. Like I'm a grown man or whatever. But I would beg to differ. I think almost nobody, myself included, I wish I had someone who would walk me through what I'm doing with athletes now. Even no matter how much money I was making, no matter how much whatever, because I know tons of athletes. Maybe I'll just touch on a sore subject. Maybe this is wrong with me, but
No, go ahead, dive in, man.
most people that are married, that are like straight up chasing fitness goals, most of them don't have really marriages that are thriving really well. And I know I'm touching on, maybe that's really bad to say, but I'll say personally, I thought things were okay. Things are okay in my marriage. Whatever, my wife's has a smile on her face and things are, but I had no idea like under the surface what she was dealing with by her feeling like bottom of the totem pole to the rest of my life. I was just selfish. Like, I believe that as a man in my home, I'm supposed to be the servant leader. It's not supposed to be I think leadership is about service. It's not someone who's authoritarian and a dictatorship where, I'm the head of my home. My wife just runs around picking up plates and serving me and dealing with the kids because I have this goal in my life. I think that's terrible. Like, a man is supposed to be a leader and a servant leader. And so if my whole life revolves around my wife anxious whether she's going to get in the way of one of my routines, all that to say, I went down a rabbit trail. I think people have way more disordered things that are underneath the surface than they realize. And you don't know it 5 years into marriage. You don't know it 10 years into. That's why divorces happen 20 years into marriage. And I know I'm touching on something, but you don't know something's like falling apart until it kind of falls apart. So I think there's tons of athletes, myself included. I praise the Lord that he saved my life, because I was going down a path that if I went down another 5 years like that, on the outside I looked great. My wife, my whatever, but my career path, all these things. But if I didn't take a hard correction and begin to order my life, I think I could have really train wrecked a lot of things, and I didn't see it coming. And I think I see a lot of athletes going that direction, chasing these goals. So what I'm doing now is I can program, and I write good programs, and I actually write supplemental programs, majority of what I do. So when a CrossFit athlete comes to me and they say, I want you to train me, I'm not going to tell them, hey, go hide in the corner and do this special program I'm going to give you that takes 3 hours a day, because actually there's 80 programs represented at the CrossFit Games amongst all the athletes.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the program. And taking them out of their community is actually one of the major things that hinders them from longevity in the sport, because what they do is they hide in a corner and then they're by themselves and they're not having fun. And then 2 years later they find themselves discouraged and back in the class saying I just want to have fun again. So actually, most of my competitive athletes, I write supplemental work on top of telling them that they have to do their class workout every day. Staying engaged with their community, staying involved with the people that they're close to. And so, again, programs are part of it, but mostly what I'm doing right now, I kind of call myself a life coach. So no matter what program they're doing, I come alongside them to journey with them and help them order their life. Because I believe an ordered life empowers a successful athlete. That's kind of one of our tags. An really ordered life empowers a successful athlete. So, yeah.
Dude, I totally agree. And it's the same thing with business, you know, like, it's the same thing with everything.
Yeah.
You know, if
Dude, you've got a coach, right?
I
had worked with
yeah,
one in the
so
past,
I mean, I've had multiple business coaches only up until 2 months ago. And it's something where, you know, I think the coaching is really important, you know, and I had a new coach starting this morning, and I keep saying, you know, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
Totally.
And, like, the coaching piece of it doesn't matter whether I have the sickest ring muscle up transition drill that I can show you. If you don't believe me that that's what's going to get you up there, it's not going to work, you know?
So true.
So I love that.
It's awesome.
Yeah, and I've been working with somebody recently on a monthly basis, but it's amazing how much he's helped me because, you know, recruiting, it's like sales, right? Mm-hmm. So you could be doing it all day, every single day, talking all the time. I tend to work way more than I really should. You talk about taking time away from other things. That's, you know, time away from Sydney or my friends or, gosh, just to be with myself and just let my brain cool down for a little bit. And this guy came in with this methodology called Scrum Methodology, which is some IT-related stuff, but he applied it to recruiting and life and actually time blocking, doing all that. And it was incredible just working with somebody and just listening to them really had an impact as far as my day-to-day goes.
Yeah, I mean,
it was incredible.
It's the third-person view. Like, you know, when you can have someone else take a third-person holistic look at your life and what's going on.
Sure.
You know, it's like you can say whatever your goal is. Like, my goal is to make it to regionals.
Yeah.
Why did I want to make it to regionals? Because I wanted those stupid shorts that they give you. It's literally the dumbest thing ever. But, like, when I started CrossFit, like, this is going to sound so stupid. When I started CrossFit,
everyone's doing it for that. I mean, let's be real.
Hell yeah.
Cool shorts. I'll give everything away just to get a pair of shorts.
Right. So, like, I don't know. It sounds dumb. But, like, when I started CrossFit, I was like, man, everyone was wearing those, like, Jocko fight shorts, Tupu, like that was just the style. And I was like, man, I can't wait until I can like RX workouts and like be consistent enough to where I feel like I've earned the right to wear like the CrossFit shorts. And then I was just like, I just want those regional shorts.
Yeah.
Stupid. But yeah, somebody taking a look at my life and been like, dude, your finances are a mess. And in 5 years, when you have a wife and kids, like you're not going to want to be cleaning up your mess that you made 5 years ago. So.
And even you just mentioned, I mean, life coaching. Let's just even take it out of CrossFit. How many fathers, I mean, are not present in their homes because they're workaholics? How many fathers are not present in their homes because they're addicted to social media? I think our phones, I told my wife I'm about to get a flip phone. I don't even want to have anything around me past 5 o'clock because my 3-year-old does not need me in the playroom with them on Instagram saying I'm with them. They need that thing out the window. I need to be looking at them because basically we have goals in everywhere. Take CrossFit. I have goals in business, goals in whatever, goals in ministry, goals in every industry. People are workaholics. Mm-hmm. So I almost think like a balanced life is like one of the greatest things you can help teach someone because people die. Every person on their deathbed, you know, I wish I would have spent more time with my kids and my wife. You know, your kids are 20 years old and you regret the fact that they don't want to talk to you because I had a dream and I chased it and I burned my family on the altar of chasing this thing. And I never knew what was enough. And it, you know, so I just think like almost like life coaching and helping people see balance. I've seen for myself how important it was and I needed it. And I think, man, even transcending CrossFit, everyone needs to understand how when you say yes to something, what you're saying no to. And yeah, sorry, I'm soapbox for a second.
So I have a question because a couple guys that came from your group are now at our gym.
Yeah. And
one thing they mentioned was that you're trying to potentially make a run back to the next level. Is that true or false?
No.
He's like, no, don't lump me in that yet. I guess we talked about where you were with fitness. Let's talk about where you are now with fitness.
Yeah.
Like, what do you care about workout wise?
Well, I haven't worked out much for like 3 years. I've done a lot of things and I've worked out very little, but I am what I care about right now when I think about it, one of the things I care about inside of gym is building communities. We're moving to Kansas in end of the year. And what I want to do there is create the best culture in the world inside of a gym. And I believe competitive CrossFit athletes are one of the greatest leaders in any industry. I don't know why it is, but CrossFit athletes in a gym who are competitive are such leaders. They have the ability to influence, and if they do it well, they can be incredible servant leaders of hundreds of people in gyms. And I want to even walk with guys and disciple them in a way where you can't do that from the outside. You have to be in it with them. And so I'm going to go back into training and whatever the games, but just training hard and doing some competing, because I want to create in Kansas a culture where competition is a way that you can just begin walking with people. Some of my best friends in life I was competing alongside with, and I had the opportunity to encourage them in their life and honestly save their life in some ways. And lifelong friendships were born out of that. So something about being beside someone on a barbell is unlike about any opportunity to grow in relationship. Like there rarely are. So I want to get into it because of just the relational abilities that kind of come along with it. But I also, I just enjoy it, and I'm itching a little bit, and I'm training some guys, and I've been competing with them, and I've kicked their butt in a few things, and I'm
awesome.
like,
feel like it feels good.
And I'm like, man, I see my life. I see how much time I could give it to it. I was like, why not put 2 hours a day into it? I enjoy it. It's a blast. I could spend good time with my friends doing it. And so, I am going to try and make a push to just compete some, and who knows what comes out the other end of it.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And like, when we were saying, can you do it on one workout a day? I feel like if you, like, you've already been there. You have the heart piece figured out. You know your athletics. It's just like tuning up the old Shelby GT and taking it out for a drive. You know, it might take a couple years for you to get there with one training session a day, but I think there's a lot of value in that experience, to be able to do it again. But that's just me.
I don't know. The games, you got to take that out of it personally. I think I'll train hard for a year and see if anything comes from it. But I do know what it takes, and you're right, mentally you have to be there. And there's few things that are as fun as going into a 9-month training block, just hard, and with some good friends and stuff. So I'm going to enjoy putting the time in, knowing kind of what time I can put into it, and going to sleep at night knowing that it was time well spent, even if I don't make it anywhere. So.
Cool. Can we wrap up with some favorites and some quick questions?
Yeah, I think we can. What do you want to ask?
I want to know first CrossFit workout that you remember, favorite CrossFit workout, and then I guess best memory, like event at the Games or Regionals.
Okay.
All right. First WOD. What you got, Nate?
I don't remember. I think it might have been 7 minutes of burpees.
Oh, what a way to come into it.
And I had no idea how bad it was going to be, and it just hurt like a minute in. And so I think that might have been it. One of my favorites at school was my buddy Bobby doing an unbroken Karen for the first time. And
that's cool.
Watching that, and like back in 2013 or 14, and not many people were doing that. And it was just like mind blowing. And I watched him just like finish his last wall ball and just fall apart on the floor. And I was so nervous, but I tried it and eventually was able to do it. That was kind of one of my favorites that I remember, Karen.
It's a great workout.
Yeah.
Best memory.
Best memory.
It was that 315 deadlift box jump workout at Regionals, right?
Best
when that
memory.
came out, I was like, I want to do that.
Well, I didn't really enjoy the games very much. I had a really stressful time there. I was on crutches for the 2 months leading up to the games. I had my first child like 2 days before. So I had a horrible showing and I didn't enjoy it. I don't know if I could say I enjoyed the CrossFit Games, but Regionals, I would say just even being there, like it's like a big family. When you're in the competitive circuit, I guess the way I was doing it, you want to beat your friends, but you're also just friends. Like literally going and seeing Travis and Dan Petro and one of my best buddies and Noah and all my guys, like it just felt like a family reunion. So year after year through the circuit and regionals, I would say was a blast. Every year going to be together and going out to dinner, hanging out, even on the floor, like where I want them to do well, high five. Like there's like a real brotherhood and friendship, and I love those guys. And Aaron Hanna was one of my best buddies. You guys remember Aaron Hanna, the guy who clean and basically strict pressed 350 and won that event at the games? But that was such a fun time to be there with the guys at regionals, and whether you lost, I mean, your whole year hinged on your performance, but it was so fun being with the guys, and whether you win or lose, crossing the finish line and just laying on each other and shaking hands and then going and eating together and laughing, telling stories, and just being good friends with your competitors. It really is a culture like nothing I've ever seen.
All right, man. Probably closing thoughts.
Yeah.
I'm going to kick it off. I'm going to tell the story of when I first met Nate and the first workout I ever did against him, and what the difference between a regionals CrossFit Games athlete and somebody who's like an RX athlete and is pretty good in the gym, right? And I had...
Was this the running workout?
It was actually a cool workout. It was a very fun workout, but my ego, gets me in trouble from time to time, right? I got a big head, and I thought I was really good at CrossFit, and I was a good CrossFitter, right? But I was good for Ashburn CrossFit, for Verity Speed and Strength, and then I knew Nate was coming in. And that was a great experience. And we had like 20 people in there. Maddie was there, and it was a workout. It was like 4 or 5 rounds for time. It was like a 400-meter run. It was 2 rope climbs.
It was a barbell?
And it was dumbbell snatches, like 12 dumbbell snatches.
Yeah.
And I looked at the workout, and I'm like, I'm a runner. Like, I'm good at rope climbs. I was like, there's a workout that I can beat him in. It's this one. And I did very well, but Nate almost lapped me on it. And I remember like going out for my last 400-meter run. As I'm going out, he's coming in, so he's at least 3 minutes ahead of me probably. And he's just like, hey, like, good job, man. Like, he's just going for a jog in the park, and you could just tell like he definitely wasn't going 100%, and I was that far behind him still. And that was a very humbling and great. It was a great experience. But it was a humbling experience too, where I was just like the margin between us two was just, it was so much. It was such a cool experience, but it was also just humbling to go through that. Yeah. Monroe, closing thoughts, man.
Closing thoughts. Thank you for coming on our show.
Yeah.
It's been cool to talk to you. I've talked to you a few times, but it's cool to get to know more of your story and get to see the way you think about fitness and CrossFit and all that. And
cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Super glad to be here, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun to do.
Anything else you want to tell the listeners and the people of the gym?
No, I don't.
Anything to plug?
Maybe I don't know if this is a plug, but
Sure.
if you're interested in any coaching or anything like along those lines, my website's kind of being overhauled in a way. But you just reach out to me on Instagram, Nathan_Bramblett. If you have questions, DM me, and I'd love to just help in any way I could if there's anybody that needs it.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, thanks again. All right, everybody. You're listening to the Full Send Podcast. We'll see you next time.